Hey guys, welcome back to the Boss Queens with Voices podcast. It is season 3, episode 1, and I am your host, the Advice Queen, and I am joined today by a returning guest and member, very good member of the community, mind you, Saf. So today we're going to be talking about the culture of silence in the Black community. And when I say the culture of silence within the Black community, I mean, this whole silence around, different sort of atrocities that happen within the community. And we just have this mentality that you're not supposed to snitch, you're not supposed to be informal, that kind of basis we're going to be touching on today. And when is it morally right to speak up, speak your mind, speak up within the community? And, is it ever right to just remain silent on, stuff that you see happening within your community? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so, guys, you probably already know Saf because she's been on my podcast before. But do you want to just give them a 2-second hey from yourself, Saf?
Hey, I'm just on the Boss Queens podcast, and we're just going to thrash out issues how we feel about silence in the Black community. I mean, going forward, anyone else wishing to join in any other podcast, just hit up Boss Queen and just listen and take what you want away from it. If you need further information, WhatsApp, Instagram, it's all there.
All of that. Good stuff.
Yep. Or if you wanted to do a podcast about something you feel passionate about, fine. Just hit her up and let her know.
You see, this is why I have to love you, because, the stuff that I forget to put into the podcast, you get, summed it up for me quickly and nicely. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, guys, seeing as it's Black History Month, and it's our time of celebrating heritage, culture, that sort of thing, I just thought it was just like only right that, let's speak about the culture of silence, the silence in the community that, for a lot of us, it's heart-wrenching because we see every day, mothers losing their children. We hear about children being raped, going missing, women being abused, men even being abused, and we just tend to just like turn a blind eye to all of the stuff that are going on, and we'll gossip amongst ourselves, and it will be the hottest topic, and we're very quick to slander each other and tear each other down and all the rest of it. So we will do it in that sort of negative light, but nobody sort of speaks about, the impacts that it has on people in the community and the traumas that it leaves behind. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So what do you think about this stuff?
I think it's such of a big minefield in our community, and with Black women and men and children, because it's what we pass down, isn't it?
Right.
So what we pass down, I think sometimes does as an effect or a bigger effect on our children.
Definitely.
And I just think we miss a big part of how we behave in regards to trauma, acceptance, even counselling, acknowledging when something's not right. How we pass that down or don't pass it down, or not giving them a place of comfort or a safe place for our children to express their feelings.
Yeah.
And I think we're so very good at dismissing our feelings. Previously, people said, well, it's come from stem from slavery, wasn't allowed to express ourselves, was like robots. And I get that and I understand that. However, now is a time where you've got to heal from within.
Right.
So I get why maybe previously we were submissive, is in regards to housing, in regards to expressing ourselves, in regards to interacting.
Yeah.
But we've got to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. And I think we're so good at not acknowledging trauma. That's a big thing with me. And I don't work in mental health, but I work with in social complex needs, really, but I've worked with people who live doing long-term prison sentences. I used to work in probation, and I can see the impact it has on people just being out of society for a short while.
Yeah.
However, their behaviour is accepted in our community, in regards to just a simple thing, in regards to the social interaction they have, or don't have. And just a small thing is in regards to if a male or a female sitting there and like we're just having a conversation and they're not getting involved, or just socially they're not really getting involved. No one doesn't acknowledge, well, why? Like doing that psychological evaluation on them. They're just like, oh, they're really quiet with this, they haven't got nothing to say. Maybe they're not comfortable in that setting.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Another thing, even just to quickly piggyback off what you're saying there, like even when I just approached this whole, as I said, the culture of silence, I was more, I was, in one mindset speaking about the culture of silence, and you just like highlighted something again, because even in saying the culture of silence where we see things happening and we remain silent, there's also that culture of silence where we go through so much trauma and we go through so much shit and we don't express our feelings, as you said, and we, sort of keep it all bottled in, and then it just keeps on going generations after generations and nobody gets healed. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly piggyback off what you were saying there. So you say that you work in the prison systems and
yeah, and I can see the interaction of like, regardless what, the stunted growth of just not being able to socialize, and like us as Black people not understanding where that person's coming from.
Definitely.
And then accepting of their behavior, but not coming from an informed view of where they're coming from. I'm not saying accepting their behaviors, right, but not understanding why they're behaving like that, so we could address it with them.
So you're saying that we need to be understanding as to why people are doing certain things in the first place.
Yeah, like coming from an informative view of their behavior. And it's not acceptable. It's never going to be acceptable, certain behavior. However, if we have an informative view of what, okay, early days, let's just start early days, like with children who are not undiagnosed of ADHD and them kind of disorders. Like if they haven't been diagnosed from their child, I know a lot of males, Black males, who can't read or write. And because early days, you was class troublesome in school, you didn't get that proper support in school to identify you. Not every child is going to learn the same. Not every child has the same standard of learning abilities. It's just coming in now, the kind of understanding, yes, some children learn differently, different levels. But say 20, 30 years ago, it was one standard learning. And if you couldn't learn like that, you was disruptive, you classed as ADHD. Mostly Black children who are coming from a boisterous environment anyway.
That's another topic that I'm actually going to touch on within this season. So I don't need to go too much into it. And we're going to talk about it because I don't want to go too much into it, but as you said, this whole ADHD, our children not being diagnosed at the right time, not getting the right help, and then obviously growing up into adults and then having so much social and
having social issues, and then like the abuse, like when they abuse physically, mentally, them themselves sometimes aren't aware that actually that is abuse, which it does sound strange when you say it out loud.
No, but it's true. And that's why we're having these talks.
Talking to you now, it sounds strange saying them not knowing it's abuse. But us two, coming from a more, I don't even want to, in the most humblest way, coming from a more academic background, we would identify it as abuse. However, some females or males coming from a certain environment don't identify that behavior as abuse.
Well, I was on a live the other day and there was a lady on there and her partner came in and he said nothing to her. He'd been at work all day. He said nothing to her. So she just said nothing to him as well. And then the people on live was like, well, why don't you just say hello? She said, "Me afraid." So I turned around and wrote in the comments, "That's abuse." And everybody started saying that's not abuse and this is not this and this is not that. And I just thought, well, it is abuse, because if you're living in a house with a man that goes to work every day and comes in and you're walking on eggshells because you don't know whether to say hello, good evening, how was your day, give him a hug, whatever the case is, then that's not healthy. But again, that's, we're just touching on the things that happen in the community that people just don't want to talk about, because to me, that's abuse. That's mental abuse, emotional abuse, because that's supposed to be your partner that is loving and nurturing, and you live in the same house. You can't live in a house with somebody and have no communication. How does that work? you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
again,
But that's what I'm saying it out loud when you're saying it. I'm like, what do you mean? But like you said, in some people's world, that's fine. That behavior is acceptable. And that's why I think with us as well, as Black people, we do come from a very dysfunctional level of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
yes. And that's because we don't speak about stuff. So then there's no you know, what do you say, there's no scale or no, you know,
no
there's
balance.
nothing to judge anything of. It's just like everything's acceptable because there's nothing to weigh anything off. There's no good, there's no bad. It's just everything's just.
And like how we were just talking before, previous to this, you know, maybe it's only recently, like, even if like it's not an academic live or something, like you said, it's making people aware of certain situations. Previous, everybody just lived in their little world and little house.
Right.
And if you didn't communicate, if you didn't know nobody, like we could do a live and there could be someone on from America, New York, Canada, anywhere.
Right.
But previously, you'd only know people maybe on your street. So it's more like just getting that into, I'm not saying it'll, like, it might help the female. It might just make her analyze things or understand things. Right. But there would have been no platform for that before.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of, obviously, like social media and connecting.
That's the positives of, like, for real, you know, you can kind of look into yourself and see where you're at. Or even if you don't understand, and even if you don't want to be faithful or be present or be on the, you can just listen. Do you see what I mean? At least you can listen. And even if you're listening, it makes you feel better. And even if it makes you feel better 4 months down the line, it's still done its job.
Exactly.
Do you see what I mean? Instantly, it's not going to change you as a person, but it might just give you food for thought for going on thinking, you know something, maybe I need to look into this. Even like in regards to like even sexual abuse, rape, anything you feel what you not feel uncomfortable with could have happened to you years ago. You might not want to address it with the person, but it might heal you as an individual, or you might understand that happened to you. And you just didn't say nothing because you didn't think anyone would take you serious, or I thought that always happened, or it was
didn't
just
know if it was right or wrong.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's stemming from childhood. So, you know, you don't see, you know, the wrong or the right because nobody's spoken to you. Nobody's told you that it's wrong. And
or who do you tell if you haven't got sisters, aunties, uncles? Who do you tell? Sometimes.
But apart from that, that's why I said I wanted to touch on the culture of silence, because apart from who do you tell, the point is, if you as a youngster, say for instance, you experience sexual abuse or any form of abuse, and then you growing up into an adult, and then you're entering into a relationship with, you know, a partner of your own, and then you're experiencing the same sort of abuse, you're not going to know it's abuse because nobody spoke about it when you was younger. Nobody addressed it. Everybody brushed it under the carpet. And as you said, there wasn't a safe space for you to go and speak about it. And even in most cases, a lot of people did speak about it. And it was just like, oh, don't be silly, or, you know, as you said, just brushed under the carpet. So that's the point of, you know, when are we going to stop this culture of silence? Like, when stuff is happening within the community, you know, whether it's children that are being abused, again, as I said, women that we see on a regular basis, we see women on a regular basis being abused by their men. We see it because you see women that have been beaten up, black eye, all sorts of things, and nobody says anything. It's just normal.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? It's really just normal.
And I think it's like that, like you said, it's that wall of silence of like, they feel so unable to say anything. You know, like with other cultures, it's not acceptable. You'd be able to tell your parents, anybody, you'd speak loud about it. In our culture, it's mainly like, it's not something what's spoke about, so you wouldn't be aware of it. And then in reality, like, where do you go? What's culturally acceptable for you? Because remember, you gotta, in regards to abuse, if it's in a home, you're gonna want to leave that home. But culture, you might only know that home. So what's culture going to be suitable where you're going to feel comfortable and safe? The only place I can acknowledge where that comes about, where it's in regards to with the Asians, where they do the honor killings. And they've got refugees adapted for their culture.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? Because it's coming from an honor-based killing. So if you're a woman fleeing DV and you're Asian and you kind of point out to them now, this is just in the last couple of years, the police are trained to deal with honor case DV different than regular DV, even though it might be not to the extreme as they will kill you, it's still based under honor. So you will be put somewhere, or you'll get a translator. You put someone what's culturally acceptable for you.
Okay.
So you're going to feel more comfortable to access that service. Well, just for instance, say you're an African woman and you've lived with your man in your house in a home as an African home. Culturally, who you're going to speak to in regards to what's happening with your home, what would understand and put you somewhere what's culturally acceptable and safe.
Yeah, I get it.
It's not going to happen, is it?
But I mean, again, it starts with each and every one of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if everybody just chooses that, you know, when I see something that I'm not comfortable with, because everybody's got, not to say that there isn't a common, you know, sphere of morality, but everybody, there's things that some people may wish to turn a blind eye to, and there's other things that it might irk people like that. No, this is totally wrong, you shouldn't be doing that. So it's just about where your morality stops at, if that makes starts and stops, I should say. So in regards to things like, you know, abuse against women, child abuse of whatever sort, sexual, physical, verbal, any of it, we shouldn't be just sitting down, because it happens a lot in our community. Even we see like mothers like trashing their kids, talking all kind of like smack to their kids when they're telling them off. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, it's just like we've just, as a culture, we've just been so desensitized that it's almost like nothing is a problem or issue anymore. It's like everything's just acceptable. It's like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, that is so true. And like you said, what I feel as well, even we're to blame, because even me, I always say, you know, you've got to stop being a hypocrite, because the same way we were like, oh, we're tired of the youths getting killed, we're tired of this kind of environment for our youths, but the same way we're tired, you know, the same way we will go in a dance and gun tunes and you do gunfight, I've seen it all the time visually, and I'm like, what are you portraying when you're doing that? When you're listening, okay, it's only listening, but like, say you're in the car with the kids and you're listening to certain kind of music, what portrays killing of a black person. The same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because
you see what I mean? And that's,
you know what, those are like that's how they desensitize it, because that's how it starts in the music. And people say, well, the music's shouldn't be responsible for how a person acts. No, it shouldn't be. But what you have to understand is that it's subtle, isn't it? It's subtle and it's programming. So when you're hearing something every day, you're dancing to it. As you said, you're in the dance, you're, you know, throwing your fingers up, you're whatever the case may be, because you're in a vibe at that time. You don't know that it's subconscious programming. Do you understand what I mean? You know, so, you know, even when they, you know, notice how they, you know, bombard us on the media with even the killings of our black men. And, you know, they're not really talking about the rape of our women. They're talking about always the killing of our men, or killing of our men, because they're just getting us used to it. It's desensitizing us to the situation. So even now when we're in a community and, you know, it gets to the point of our children killing each other, it's, again, there's no morality behind it. Nobody's like outraged. Nobody's like, what the fuck is going on? Everybody's just like, oh, another black kid's been killed. But then that's it. But nobody, even if there was 100 people on the scene, there will never be anybody that goes forward to say, I saw what happened. Do you understand what I mean? Like, where is the morality in that? That's the point that I'm making. And again, as I said, I'm not an angel, innit? I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
I've kept quiet on a lot. But it's like, okay, at what point and at what cost do you continue to remain silent? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the point that I'm making, that at some point we all have to, you know, morally assess ourselves and say, well, you know, is this Do you understand? I'm not telling everybody to get up tomorrow and start being informers. I'm not even.
And it wouldn't be like that. I get that. It wouldn't be.
And again, you see, like when you see, like back in the days, like how our thing was set, like back in the days. Remember, our communities was run by leaders, innit? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Elders and them kind of thing. So even if we had that kind of community vibe going, and again, where we don't necessarily even have to go to the police, because if we have to go back to jungle justice, then it's jungle justice, isn't it? Because then people are gonna learn, innit? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, you can't just go out and take someone's life. You can't just go out and beat up a woman or rape her. You can't go out there and molest someone's kid. You understand? There's just things that you just cannot do. There has to be like, do you understand?
And remember as well, like you said.
So when I'm speaking, sorry to cut you, when I'm speaking, I'm not necessarily saying, oh yeah, get up, go phone the police, because I'm saying we as a community, when are we going to get back to that stage where we're not even to say policing ourselves, but there's people within the community that their eyes are open, people are speaking, because we know what's going on in the community. We always know what's going on in the community. As soon as something happens, everybody gets a text or a phone call or something. We all know what's going on. Do you understand? Just like that, yeah? So why can't we try to get together where there's people that are, you know, that other people trust in, and the elders in the community that people look up to, that are taking these positions to be like, okay, then, not to say like, not like don manship or bad manship, not that kind of thing, because that's a slippery slope again. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But I'm talking about proper elders and proper leaders, like, you know, whether it's Uncle, you know, Frederick from
I get that, but
the church up the road or whatever. You understand what I mean?
Now. Yeah, but there still is a big mistrust in the community, and I understand, like, we need to police ourselves, but I think before really that comes,
police ourselves, but you know, there should be people that can mediate, not really say police ourselves, but mediation, because even if, like,
I agree with that, but we've had that as well, and unfortunately, I think we tried that, and then for some reason, the mediators turn against us. Do you see what I mean? Like, we've tried that, haven't we? We have people who you thought you could go to, but I don't know if it's a sign of the times or times of changing. It seems like these people have they'll turn against you, or you'll see their behavior in the community and identify, well, why would we take them to have the moral high ground? Do you see what I mean? Like, I get that and I understand that, but I just think, and I suppose you have to look at it in regards to which is the moral high ground in regards to, okay, this is going to sound controversial. It could be an affluent person who's a drug dealer, but they're a really nice person. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying a scenario. They're a really nice person. They're genuine. However, we all know how they make their money. So then something's happened. So why would you go to that person? Because you're not 100% yourself. Do you see what I mean? It's like, who is?
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that. That's why I'm saying that we have to be thinking in the terms of morality, isn't it? You understand what I'm trying to say? Because we are all, none of our cousins are clean. None of us.
Yeah.
None of us. What I mean. Not one of us. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So the point is, where is the line, innit? That's the point, innit? Where is the line, innit? Where do you draw the line?
I get that, but is there a line?
Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line from what is acceptable to what is not acceptable?
Exactly. And where is the line in our community now? Well, where is the line?
Well, there has to. That's the point.
If we're being honest and we're talking about morality, none of you are moral, are you? Then in regards to living and how you're supposed to live.
No, because but then that's really and truly. If you think that's why I was gonna say that. That's why I was gonna say that. Really and truly, there's some things that I feel like personally that we shouldn't even really see as we're not moral or whatever, because really and truly, if we were able to do it a different way, we would do it a different way, but circumstances push a lot of us to do certain things. So that's why I'm saying that, where do we draw the line? Are we going to draw the, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because we're always going to be a people that have to hustle, that have to go out there and look for money any means necessary. Always going to be a people like that, because
but that's
unfortunately, we're not creating opportunities for ourselves. So do you understand what I'm trying to say? Maybe if we were creating opportunities for ourselves, then we could draw the fully draw the moral high ground to say, well, certain things are, like nothing on this spectrum is acceptable as long as it's hurting a human being. Do you understand? And that's the kind of...
Yeah, I get that. But then there'll always be the people who like, I get what you're saying in regards to, well, we're not self-sufficient, so we've got to accept something.
Mm-hmm.
So in that accepting something and you're trying to support someone in what they've done, they're still going to draw the card to, well, who are you to tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean? Like, not everyone will be like, they will until they're in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to show them a different right from wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you do this is my perspective on this. They still won't, they're not going to have it.
I hear what you're saying. But then that means that what, then we just give up and then just...
No, we can never give up, you know. I don't believe...
To be honest, you know what? Yeah, I've been doing this podcast now for, I mean, I know it's early days. I've only been here for like almost a year. And, you know, like when I came into this space, I was excited. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to, you know, bring all the positivity. And I don't think our people want to hear it. I mean, I'm not going to say that nobody wants to hear it, because I have a lot of like genuine people that listen outside of like Instagram and YouTube, if that makes sense. But I'm saying like, it's like really hard. It's a hard space to be in, because it's almost like you're trying 100%. To shove things down people's throat. But at the same time, to me, it's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to say what I have to say. Who likes it, and who doesn't, just don't. But the point is, like, we even have to get to a point where we want to help ourselves. And I don't even think that we're even at that point. A lot of us, you know, a lot of us are, but then there's still so many of us that are just like so blasé and just not in touch.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I've done like, you see that kind of like dreariness. I've done like, that comes from doing a lot of community work.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there. And once you start working with the community, like after a while, you're so enthusiastic because you're working with your people and you think, yeah, this will. And then like after like 6-8 months, you realize it's bigger than what you think. It's not like working with them. It's a whole different mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean? It's like somebody said it on the other podcast of yours. It's like reprogramming people.
It is reprogramming, because that's the only thought. Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Mm-hmm. That's why I mean, realistically, when I did come in this space, I was like, you know, if I even get, you know, 2 or 3 people that genuinely I can, you know, work together and change each other's mindset, because I'm on a journey as well. It's not like I know it all. I don't. I'm on a journey as well. This is, you know, my own healing. But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange space, to be honest. It's a very strange space, because
it can be very demoralizing if you allow it to, you know.
Yeah, and every day I pray for the strength to just carry on, because I know that, as you said, it's bigger than me, innit? It's not just about me. It's never been about me. It's you know, it's a bigger picture. Do you understand what I mean? But it's like, okay, if I give up because you know it's hard, then what's the hope for any of us? Because there's a thousands of me, if that makes sense, that's out there, and you, if that makes sense, people that are trying to make a change.
Yeah, but
there's thousands
you know what
of us.
Makes sense as well. People to gravitate who want to, and I've got to a point. Well, if they don't, even like with some friends and people in my life, I'm not going to drop you from coming from the same perspective, because this is my journey. And this is my healing. But I'm not going to make you stop my healing because of the way you be. And I just have to have that mental block and just go through and understand. Remember, no matter what, when you listen to certain people, you know, when you start healing and the journeys can be very lonely.
And
because
it does.
You drop everybody who doesn't understand. You won't be around nobody.
Listen. Even in doing this episode, this season, I've reached out to quite a few people, and compared to like my season 1, which I was talking about sex and relationships, to come into where I am now, I had so much more people messaging me and inboxing me, wanting to be on or give input on those on those topics, you know. So as I said, it's like, it's either people just because I even saw a guy put up a post on Instagram a few days ago, and he captioned it that healing is so, nobody told me healing was going to be a lifetime. So now I'm back in, I'm like he said, like he's gonna be a hoe back in the streets or something like that, because healing is too hard, and it's you know, it's forever. And I thought,
and I
that
get
is
that.
deep. I said, I just thought to myself,
like
that's deep, because a lot of people probably get to that point, because sometimes I'm not gonna like get there as well. Sometimes like, oh
yeah, but
God,
you
I
get
can't be
to
bothered
that
with
point,
this.
and I just think, you know something, what we didn't realize, you'll get to that point, and it's like addiction, isn't it? If you drop off the wagon, so what? As long as you get back on it sooner or later. Do you see what I mean? Like, and I think the reality of people who are healing and do start understanding, initially their journey is going to be harder, because you see more things, and you're unacceptable of more things. But the more you go on your journey, the more you realize you can't change them. The more you start accepting, it is just my journey anyhow. I can't change what's around me. I can't change people. And yeah, if I don't feel like going down that road this month, fine. Allow yourself that. Do you see what I mean? And I find people who really don't allow themselves that. They feel, oh, I've got to do this for our community. No. You've got to do it for yourself, and you've got to take as much as you can. And then you may have to stop for a little while. It's a hard
because you can't pour from an empty cup anyway. You have to take time to recharge.
And you've got to look at, boy, I've had this thought process for like all my life, and now all of a sudden within the last year, I've got to change my whole way of thinking. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Give yourself a break. It's true. 100%, you know. So you know, another thing that I wanted to touch on is not even another thing, because it's within the same topic, innit? Like, you know, in terms of the silence, I find it so ironic that people are really like, you know, like the Black Lives Matter, this whole campaign of the Black Lives Matter, and everybody jumps up every day and they're like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. People, thousands of people are marching, hashtagging, doing all sorts, but Black lives don't matter in our community.
Black lives only matter depending on who does what to you. Black lives only matter if a Caucasian kills you. If a black person kills you, it's fine.
That's what I mean. That's the strange part, because it's like, okay, like I'm confused. Like, how does Black lives matter, but then it doesn't matter within the community?
Black lives matter. That's why the reality of a Black Lives Matter movement, I just find that like, what you're talking about, Black Lives Matter, lives matter, we matter, we've always mattered.
Yeah, that was the point.
Movement, if it takes a movement to make us know we matter, that shows how we didn't matter, how far we haven't moved on. Yeah, like really, you really, Black Lives Matter movement, the leaders or whoever organize it, you really believe getting up and walking down the street is going to help anybody in this day and age? No, really. And it's like, no, for real. Really. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever thought of like doing little small workshops with younger children? You know, something a bit more productive? Because walking up and down in wherever isn't going to do anything, as we've seen in history.
I just think it's hypocritical. I just think it's just like, why do you even bother to hashtag? It's the biggest hypocrite,
and it's the biggest con for Black people. That's what I see it all. It's like, yeah, you want to brainwash me as well into Black Lives Matter. How much people want to brainwash me?
It's true. And I'm glad that
you see what I mean? Like, your own Black people want to brainwash you to believe this movement. Like, are you mad? Are you mad? Like, believing in you? Like, come on, give me a break.
And I think maybe they might have started off with the best intentions, but I mean,
no, I don't even think they started off with the best intentions.
You know,
I think they jumped on the bandwagon just because
I don't see anybody marching for somebody. I don't see anybody marching for, you know, women that are being abused. Again, domestic violence victims in our community, the untold amount of missing women and children right across the globe from our community.
I don't see anybody marching when
I don't see no one marching for them.
Another Black youth.
And you're talking about Black Lives Matter every minute. I think like Black people really need to like really check themselves as to what they really actually stand for, or you know.
They don't stand for nothing. That's why they fall for everything.
Exactly, because we depend on everybody else to sort out everything.
Yeah, we're always looking for a leader before you lead yourself. No one can. in history, we've seen leaders don't work for us.
Mm-hmm.
Heal yourself first, and then we might be able to come together. But there's a lot of individual healing needs to be done here.
Mm-hmm.
So before you look at the bigger platform as coming together, hold on. You're marching for Black Lives Matter with an American person. No disrespect to that, but American struggle and English struggle is two different struggles anyhow.
100%.
So
I'm touching on that.
You jumped on the bandwagon of something what, for real, it's a struggle, but that's not our struggle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean? And like, even we've got to accept. I was saying to somebody, okay, there was jumping on the bandwagon about George Floyd and guns, and I was like, we have to really, really, if we want to be honest, well, how much people get killed by gun? Black people in England, not very many. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that's not our main struggle here. It's your main struggle there, but it's not our main struggle here. We've got a whole different struggle. And if you're taking up that struggle, you're forgetting what's happening here in this country. Right. You totally lost. Like how much black on black crime.
I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying because I think it was another brother, I don't know if it was Dr. Umar or one of them I heard that say the same kind of thing, basically saying like we all need to heal within our own communities before we're able to heal as a whole, which is true because we can't be fighting different and you know, even doing this podcast is opened my eyes so much to see that the struggle of the Black people in England and the struggle of the Black people in America is actually kind of different. The underlying struggle is the same because we just struggle, but I'm saying like the levels of struggle is different, if that makes sense. Not to say that we're any better off than them or they're better off than us, but in a sense, we are a little bit more privileged because we actually know what, you know, like for the majority of us, we kind of have a little bit of culture for the majority of us as black people within the UK, because our parents have either come from Caribbean or Africa. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And they kind of like brought their culture and their heritage with them. So we kind of like grew up with a little bit. But I think for the Americans, their struggle is so much different than ours in a sense that they still have to find identity in a sense before they can even, do you understand what I don't know how to explain it because
I know, said, you know why?
I listened to so many.
I was in America and I was talking to this black girl. I was like, where are you from? Where are your parents from? Where's she from? She said, America. I said, yeah, but where's your parents from? She said, America. And I couldn't get what she meant. I was like, yeah, but where are you from? No, America. America, that's where we come from.
Where's your great-grandparents from? America.
For real. They've got that history there. We haven't. We're only saying. And then I clicked, oh yeah, for real. There's black people in America what's only lived in America.
Yeah, 3, 4 generations of them. Yeah.
Elders. We don't have that. Even our parents aren't American, so imagine we're only second generation. There's generations and generations.
That's what I mean. There's like 3, 4, 5 generations of them.
Feel that they're from America. They're Yankee. We don't have that.
It's true.
So I get it, like for real, it's a whole different struggle, And like what I honestly believe now, you see that wall of silence and that healing and that moving forward, you have to do it in your own little pockets. Collectively, I just believe that's not going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. That if everybody it starts, that's as I said. If you, you know, the caption even in my thing is that it starts with each and every one of us. So this is not a thing that we're just going to start marching with banners that everybody stop being silent or whatever. It's just for you within yourself to take a moral standpoint. Like, okay, what do I? Because it's, as I said, morality means different things for different people. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So where, you know, somebody might think, oh, you know, there's a dealer up there selling some weed, that's not a problem. Another person might think, no, he's the scum of the earth, report him. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Another person might think, God forbid, that somebody that abuses women and children are fine and takes a moral standpoint that they're not going to report it. But another person might be like, no, that is, which it is bloody totally wrong. This is wrong. And you understand what I mean? So it's like, to me, it's like everybody has to like check their self, innit? And see what sits morally right with you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You can't sit down and cry with somebody, or you see a post on Instagram or whatever social media platform it is, and you see a post and you feel that pang of pain for that mother that's crying for her child, or whatever the case is, and you still sit there and you know that you know who did it. Does that make sense? That's where we have to be thinking about our own morality. So if it moves something inside of you, then that means that you know that that thing is morally not good, not right, whatever the case may be. So I think we just all have to start at some point in it, because as I said, it's not going to be something that we will just tomorrow decide that, rah, I'm not going to be, you understand what I'm trying to say? It is going to be.
It comes from a place of understanding. I just honestly believe, like you said, you know, like the informer thing, it's been inbred in us, you know, which comes from, which for real and all, it does come from a big mistrust of the police. However we look at it, it comes from a big mistrust of the police, the way we've been treated, the way we're still treated. However, like you said, we've still got to do it for ourselves. We can't keep looking at because they did this.
Yeah, and that's the biggest trick when you think about it, because there's no justice for Black people. There's no I mean, how many times you hear that, you know, a Black kid or a Black man that's been killed, that somebody's been jailed for life for their killing? How many times? I'm not saying that doesn't happen. There's no justice for our women that are being raped and whatever. You don't even hear about it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You know,
even
sometimes
the media reporting on things on us is totally
sometimes
different.
they don't even bother report it for 20, 30 years because they just, nobody was going to believe me, because, do you understand what I mean? So it's just like, it's just so much. And as you said, the trust part, I think that's where our biggest wall of silence, it's the trust. It's the, you know, it's the trust in each other that, you know, that this is a safe space, whatever the case, because you know how it is. Sometimes we don't want to talk about certain shit because you're just scared that the person you're talking to might carry back your name in a negative light or whatever the case is. So we even tend to just have no comment when it comes to certain things that happen in the community. So, you know, you might gossip with a little friend that you feel, you know, kind of safe with and be like, yeah, did you hear that this and that happened? But I just think we just have to normalize just like outing certain people. And I feel like once we start at the top, then gradually morality will be something that will settle into all of us individually. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Till we're able to maybe look and try different ways, because the trust thing again is why we don't have anything and why we can't sustain ourselves, because of that same thing, trust. You know, but a lot of the time, if we just sat down and just spoke to each other on a level and we're just open and authentic and just maybe just didn't fuck your brother over or your sister over, you know, we might just get a little bit further on in life. Do you know what I mean? But that trust thing, I think that's just like the worst thing, the worst ingredient in the whole Black community, the trust.
Yeah, there's very lack of it.
The lack of trust, the lack of trust, not the trust, the lack of trust.
There's just lack of it, and from all angles. So it is hard for us to maneuver that from like your own trust to the external agencies, from every agency that's you're going to face with something like the lack of trust. And it's like say a woman who got raped, or a male who got raped, or a man who got robbed. How do you maneuver that, knowing you're before you even go anywhere to discuss this, you're classed as a second-class person, as much as they want to say you're equal. So you have them barriers initially for you to think, should I bother? And then you have that big cultural difference in regards to how you're going to feel about the situation.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And like, I get why some people, you know something, it's not worth it. It's so easy to say it's not worth it because you're going to get a fight. But there are some people who are willing to take on that fight.
I just think that sometimes in life, it depends on what has happened to you and where you've been at. And I've been in a position where my kid's dad was murdered, for instance. You get what I mean? And they never got closure. They never got justice. Yeah, that's how I'm trying to say. And because I've been on the receiving end, that's why I'm able to sit here today and say that we need to break that silence, because it's not nice. It's not nice being on the receiving end. It's okay when you're the observer and it's nothing to do with you and it's not your family member or anybody, any one of your loved ones. But when it's on your doorstep, it's a whole different scenario. And again, I'm not going to be the hypocrite. Oh, only when it's on my doorstep is a problem. It's a problem. It's a big fucking problem. Do you understand? We shouldn't be
And I
quiet,
get, you know what
and
it is as
our
well.
children are killing each other, and all this madness is happening. And you know, even speaking out
I
on,
even feel like, even as a Black person, there's the injustice within us as well.
that's what I'm saying.
Because you know what I was watching the other day, what I always say, and I just think people, I can't remember what I was saying, but what I was saying was like they kind of understood what I was saying in regards to Stephen Lawrence. God rest in peace. Stephen Lawrence and Damilola Taylor are the highlighted two kids who have got murdered.
Yeah.
Stephen Lawrence got killed about, I think, a good 20 years ago.
28 years
but
ago,
look how
I just had my daughter.
Yeah, look how affluent his parents are. Why they keep recognizing Stephen Lawrence and Damilola Taylor. Yeah, if you come from a poorer background, your kid's murder is just not in, nobody don't even care. His mom's a baroness, so they will make documentaries.
That's why when I'm talking about,
they will make documentaries about Stephen Lawrence all day long.
Yeah.
But someone who hasn't got money, the mom's probably been a cleaner, she doesn't even work or whatever.
Exactly.
Her kid don't matter.
I've had people inboxing and stuff.
That grits me.
Listen, you see on top what you're saying there, I've had people message me, send feedback and stuff like that, and saying, "Oh, this doesn't apply to the whole of the Black community." Of course it doesn't. You understand? I don't come from the posh, affluent side of the community where, like how you said, Stephen Lawrence's family and, you know, the Damilola Taylor, them, there probably wasn't so affluent, but his dad was a prominent man, and where he came from, so he wasn't having it. So not all of us are like that. So I'm speaking to the people in my community that are not here, that are there, that are, you know, at the unforgotten people in the society. That's what I'm speaking.
Exactly.
To and that's why people that have got their shit together and, you know, have, you know what I mean? The people that are living the Black people that are living a whole different life than what we're living. I'm not speaking about them, because your struggle is not my struggle.
Yeah,
the only struggle that we identify with would be, you know, the struggle of racism, and, you know, no opportunity, or, you know, fighting for opportunity. But I'm talking about the actual streets where I come from, the things that I see every day.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking about your world.
Because of lack of education, their mothers or their parents or their family haven't got the academic way or know how to go about this. Even within the school system, so many of our Black boys are what do you call it, thrown out of school, just because, again, the parents are not educated. The parents don't know how to go to the board meetings or to defend themselves or to appeal or whatever the case may be. So that's why so many of our Black boys end up out of the school system at an early age, unfortunately. Do you understand what I mean? It's like they don't have an advocacy. They don't have nowhere where they can go. And normally, you know, what I would say as well, don't ever think just because they come from a more affluent background, they're more educated, they've got money, so they will pay for someone to do that.
That's the point. They will pay for that service. They will pay for that service for somebody to come in and do that on your behalf.
It's not them as a person. They'll just.
It's not always that. Yes, you know. It's not always necessarily because they're educated or whatever the case. They just got the money to be able to.
Because if your kids get thrown out of school, you don't have to go. You can pay for a solicitor, you can pay for advocacy, do all the appeals, do everything. You can pay someone to do that.
Exactly.
You don't have to know the law. You'll pay for someone to look into it.
Right.
So do you know what I mean? Like it's just horrible. Poor is a crime.
Definitely, you know. But as I said, you know, I don't want to drag out the opening episode too long. But I just wanted to just open on the culture of silence. We're going to be going so much deeper into, you know, the individual topics that I feel like should be spoken about. Not only myself, there's some topics that people have sent in for me as well. So this season is just going to be about, let's just, you know, speak about stuff, innit? Talk about trauma, talk about the community, talk about what's happening in our community, our children, ourselves, our men, you know, because our men are struggling as well. They're not just the bad guys. They're struggling as well. And we need to be able to uplift them also. And we just need to have a common ground where we're all able to just have understanding for each other. That's my perspective. And that's what I'm going to close out on. what do you want to say to close out?
I think my closing would just be compassion and coming from an informative view of when you're dealing with situations, and compassion, and like you said, just having safe space, because not all, you know, something, we can't heal everybody, you know, we can't but just allowing that space for someone to discuss. Maybe 10 years, like 5 years down the line, they might go back and look at what there was trauma from, and actually acknowledging life can be trauma within itself, just being a Black person, babes. Man, woman, or child. So understanding that when we go wrong, don't be that harsh on ourselves. However, still acknowledging there's
accountability
consequences for action. You've still got to be
accountability for whatever you do, and consequences.
And I think once you start taking accountability and accept your responsibility, it's part of your healing as well. Because then you're going to understand, to be honest, you know,
I think that accountability, compassion, and understanding for yourself is the key. Once you're able to start, you don't have to have it fully figured out, you know, but once you start to, you know, accept who you are, innit, your flaws, everything, take accountability for where you go wrong and for your shortcomings, and just understand compassion for yourself, that you're human and you was born into trauma. It wasn't your choice. You was born into a life of trauma just by default. Do you get what I mean? So
okay, sis.
So as always, it's been lovely talking to you, sis. Thanks for jumping on. And guys, as usual, if you found, you know, value in the content, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube. You can also leave a review. There's a link at the end of the podcast that you can leave a review or any comments that you like, or you can find me on social media. All my links are within the podcast setting itself. So I'll be back next week, God willing. Until next week, guys, stay safe, stay blessed, and take care of yourselves. And thanks for joining. Ta-ra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
No worries.
Much. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.